What's up, sports fans? Welcome to episode 6 of the WSAV Sports Now podcast. I am host, sports reporter Connor Delpreet, joined now by sports director, the boss man, Greg Talbot, who is wearing, who are you wearing? 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's Jimmy G.
Yeah. You know that question, like, who are you wearing?
It's Jimmy Jawline. Jimmy Jawline.
Wow, okay, that's the new one this year.
No, that was last year.
Was it?
Yeah, Jimmy Jawline's been around, man.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I've been sleeping on him. Well, I guess most of the league has since
And then he got hurt after, week 4 last year. Didn't give much of a chance to prove how great he was.
Yeah, just like the Orioles, they're just overlooked this year.
That's Niners and the Orioles, do not put them in the same category. That is not the same thing we're talking about. One team is significantly worse.
I am asking that people
It's your
remove,
team.
if people could remove that GIF of our right fielder throwing the ball against the wall, that would be great. Just get it off my timeline. It's fake news. I think it's doctored footage.
It's a deep fake.
Deep fake. Talking about conspiracies, talking about things that are sort of up in the air in the sports world.
Yeah.
We have one right here close to home. Over the past 5 days, things have really changed for Georgia Southern quarterback Shai Werts. We come into the end of last week thinking we don't know if he's going to be playing for LSU, playing against LSU, and then on Thursday we get the body cam footage, the dash cam footage, and then hours later it's charges are going to be dropped against Shai Werts. The drug charge, the speeding charge still exists.
Correct. The cocaine possession charges
Right.
that was on the hood of his car, as I think I predicted this on air when I did that breakdown with you in Statesboro last week. I think I predicted that the Shai Werts, that the cocaine possession charges were going to be dropped. They eventually were, but the speeding charge is going to stick. But what we learned coming out of that is because he had to miss the first 2 days of practice because of all that, with the cocaine charges dropped, Georgia Southern decided that the speeding charge, the 80 miles per hour, 78 and the 55, they decided that those 2 first practices he missed were enough of a punishment, enough of a suspension for the speeding charges. So not only have the cocaine possession charges been dropped, Shai is playing at LSU on the 31st.
And I think an important takeaway from the solicitor's office that we got was that even, they dropped the charges, but even if they went further in that case, they couldn't prove that the cocaine residue was his.
Or that he knew it was even on the hood,
Right,
because he
right.
claimed it was bird poo-poo. And not only that when they did the drug test on him, tested negative for cocaine, and then even when they took the substance back and it wasn't the field test, it was the lab test. It didn't test positive cocaine. Didn't test positive as bird poop. You can't test for bird poop.
No, not that I know of.
But it wasn't coke.
Right, yeah. So on scene, the police are telling them it tested positive for cocaine. They send the test back. It comes back negative, and that's when something went wrong during the field test, or just those field tests aren't as reliable as some people may think. So the good news is that we got to see, good news, I say good news because we as media always like to see the behind the curtain of what actually happened the night of an important arrest or an important incident. What we got with that dash cam and body cam footage is to see how Shai Werts, the leader of this Georgia Southern team, reacted under pressure that he hasn't really dealt with before.
And he was impeccable. Phenomenal. Classy.
He kept a cool head. He was polite with the officers. He was confused at points, which I would be too, because of how quickly things escalated.
If a policeman pulled me over and said, "Greg, there is cocaine on the hood of your car, now put your hands behind your back and get in our vehicle," I would have freaked out.
Right.
I am so impressed by him and his ability to keep calm and be respectful of the officers when something that he knew wasn't true so clearly happened. And then to take that up a level, the fact that he was able to keep calm and not get on Twitter and bat away the trolls,
That's the biggest
of
thing
which
too.
there were some. The fact that he was respectful of the media when his name was being smeared by, I'll call them out. There's a newspaper called The Advocate in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I tweeted out their awful, clickbaiting, misleading, incorrect headline. It's not like everyone was like us saying we have to wait for the information to come out. There were a lot of media outlets out there that were smearing him, basically calling him guilty before he even had a chance to get a drug test or to have his day in court, which is why I'm so impressed with the fact that he was able to keep his cool, keep his head, be respectful. The Advocate, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that headline smeared his name. I don't care that we're going after another media organization. Not cool. Incorrect. Bad journalism.
It's easy to not do as much research, I'll say, when you're 6 or 7 states away. But when it is
Tough.
it is the team that you cover, you use a little more caution because you know these players, you know the program, you know you know more of the situation than some of these outside media sources.
Anyone with a brain who is from Savannah and even kind of watches Georgia Southern football has ever seen an interview that I've done with Shai Werts. Anyone who has ever watched him before or during or after a game, there are Division I quarterbacks who you could say, yeah, I can see him getting pulled over with cocaine in his car. Not Shai Werts. He is the classiest, most down-to-earth, focused, humble, straight-edge kid. I mean, that's why the whole story, to me, the whole time, it just didn't smell right.
Yeah, and that's why, I asked Coach Lunsford, I said, when you hear this information, now that you can speak about it more freely, when he spoke to the media for the first time, you can speak more freely. What did you think that he could have done this? Was something off when he explained the whole situation to you? And he of course went through, when our players get in trouble, we like to sit back, sleep on it, look at the facts. But you could tell that, now that they're in the clear, so to speak, he did speak to Shai's character and say that since the day they recruited him, he was a humble, down-to-earth guy who, it just doesn't really fit that window of who Shai Werts is as a guy. And you could tell that during the interview with Shai, too, on Saturday after the first scrimmage. He speaks to the media for the first and only time. He's not addressing this arrest anymore with local media.
With local media, we should say, we're recording this at 3 o'clock here on Tuesday. I'm looking at the clock, so now it's 3:10 right now. I broke the story. Very exciting to break some news. Shai is going to be on CNN today at 3:30. So obviously this is not going to be on the internet by the time you watch this, but I'm sure if you go on Twitter, we will have found a way to tweet some of that out. So he's not talking with the local media, but Shai is going on CNN in 20 minutes.
And I'm sure, the way that the vibe that I'm getting is he talks with the local media once, and this CNN interview may be his last, unless the case develops more, then he may take more interviews. I don't know. I don't know what's in his head. He referred us to his attorney when we asked about litigation, when we asked about apologies from the police. So
I don't think he wants the distraction heading into the season, but I think this, considering the landscape we are in 2019 and the kind of story this could have turned out to be in a bizarro universe, I could see this potentially getting more national legs, actually.
Maybe more national legs. I would be surprised if he's going to continue talking about it during the season, though. That doesn't seem to be down the line of what Coach and Shai want.
This week seems like probably the end of it.
Yeah. And so we can talk about sort of the way he reacted in his, in his interviews with us. You start feeling bad for the guy when you look at the dash cam footage, you look at the body cam footage, and then hear him talk about those moments, about what it was like, and saying, now he's scared when he sees police cars drive by, because when you are in that situation where you have your truth and you have your story, and yet despite all of that, and despite in what we believe handling it the right way, the correct way, waiting till you're in a well-lit area, you still get this news coverage and negative smearing on you, and find a way to stay silent against all of it, and are respectful enough not to blast anyone during your interviews, which you very well could have if you wanted to.
I'm not sure I would have been that big a man.
Right. It was impressive to see the way that he handled the whole situation. And you can't help but feel for the guy, like I said, because
his family.
Yes, having to talk to his family was horrible. Having to talk to Coach Lunsford,
friends,
which is something you don't want to be in that position. So, I think over the past 4 or 5 days we've done extensive coverage on how this whole situation played out and how Shai reacted. So I guess, I wouldn't say put a bow on it, because I think this story is far from over, but I think moving forward, this is the best possible news you could have gotten from the situation, because, the last thing you want is any sort of doubt heading into the LSU game.
And I think it's about what we predicted, whatever it was 2 weeks ago when this story broke. I remember we sent you to Statesboro for the first day of practice. I texted you and I said, the speeding's going to stick. I don't think that cocaine charge is going to stick, and I think he plays at LSU. This is about as good as you could hope for, and I think this was kind of, if you were following the case and you'd read the police report and you'd done a little research, this always seemed like the likely outcome.
I think so too, because it's so hard. I'm not going to try and put my lawyer hat on or my police officer hat on, but it would seem hard to prove that something is yours unless there are fingerprints.
Well, because it was bird poop, I was going to say I could be Charlie Kelly, bird lawyer from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I could practice my bird law.
And you should see some of the stuff Georgia Southern's come out with. Its new schedule, the picture of its schedule. Can't say it on this podcast, but if you go to Twitter, I think it's Gata Lifestyle. They tweeted out some, a play on words with Ain't something stopping us this year.
Ah.
So, yes.
That's
very
good.
Fun,
I get
very
that.
fun. It's getting some play on Twitter.
Yeah.
Moving on from Georgia Southern to the high school football level, we just got done with High School Football Media Day. Savannah, Chatham County Public Schools. So that is, off the top of my head, Islands, Jenkins, Windsor Forest, Beach, Grove, Savannah,
Benedictine now.
Benedictine. They weren't at Media Day, though, because they are not public schools.
Southeast Bullock.
Southeast
Do they
Bullock
drive
in
in?
Chatham County. So
That's too far away.
and
That's
then
about
New
right.
Hampstead.
All the public
Yep,
schools.
New Hampstead. I think I'm forgetting one right now. I'm trying off the top of my mind. But
Beach.
anyways, all the public schools. Yes, I think I said Beach. Yes.
All the Savannah public
Ulysses
schools.
Hawthorne had an electric interview.
He
was
always
great.
does.
He always does. But want to kind of break down. I don't know about takeaways from Media Day, but just takeaways overall as to what the vibe is, because there's only so much you can say during Media Day that, like, you have a slotted time of 3 or 4 questions per person. They talk about the outlook for the season. Everyone's going to be great. That's what they say. But what interests me is that
They've been
I wouldn't say
great
top heavy, but I just think this is the
course, thanking the
deepest, and I think
media.
you've referenced this as well, the deepest this region has been in quite some time, because the transfer market here has been interesting with where
High school transfer market.
just the transfers have really
Yes.
I don't know if shifted power, but sort of made some good teams stronger and made some great teams maybe take a tiny step back in terms of filling some holes. The talk right now is it's Benedictine, Jenkins, Islands. Maybe not in that order, maybe in that order for the region. And then behind them, Windsor Forest and Beach, I think, are pretty close. Johnson's taking some steps, and
Southeast Bullock was undefeated for
Southeast Bullock,
8 weeks last year?
Right, you're right. Because they weren't at Media Day, I wasn't able to ask them some questions about their outlook. But the way they run that offense, if they can stay in games, they'll be fine. I would like to get your takeaways as we get closer to the high school football season. Those top 3 teams, those are anytime that team is playing one another, or that Windsor Forest Beach team is playing one of those teams, it's must-see TV. It has to be because of the names that are on those 3 teams.
That's exactly right. So you said Benedictine, Jenkins, Islands, not in that order. I'll say entering the season, as someone who has covered high school football here now for going on 4 years, I call the big game every week on WSAV CW on the Friday Night Blitz. That is my order. If I were to power rank that league, I would think I would go Benedictine, Jenkins. Islands has the talent.
I like Islands.
I'm not
this year.
convinced that Islands is going to end up with a better record than Southeast Bullock. I think Southeast Bullock might sneak in at number 3, and Islands
2
and Windsor Forest
completely different teams
are going to go
yeah.
in at 4 and 5. So let's give our thoughts. So I was out at the Benedictine scrimmage when they played Savannah Christian on Friday. 4,000
Electric.
people play that game in the
Electric.
regular season next year. Remarkable. Benedictine only beat Savannah Christian by 9 points. BC looked really good. I know their offensive line is young. Holden Gerner is a sophomore quarterback. He's apparently one of the best sophomore quarterbacks in the country. He got an offer from Florida State from showing up at one day of one of their summer
Willie
camps.
Taggart liked
the
it.
kid was remarkable. They bring back a lot of skill positions, but they lost. Let's not lie. I mean, they lost a lot of guys.
Rico
However,
Powers.
there are other teams in this league that are going to make a push. Even 2 years ago, when Jenkins was stacked, they won the region for the first time in 30 years, whatever, with that Javonte Middleton, Tyrone Scott. That Jenkins team 2 years ago was terrific. I remember going to their head coach, Jason Cameron, saying, "Tell me about this team." He says, "Yeah, our senior class is amazing. Our sophomore class, that's going to be the best individual class this school has seen so far in its history. And this is their senior year."
Right.
I think he said like 5 of their starters have already committed to Division I programs.
Mostly on
And-
the defense.
Yeah, and more offers are on the way. This Jenkins team is absolutely stacked. I mean, I don't know, because we flex our schedule like Sunday Night Football on the Friday Night Blitz game of the week. I would almost guarantee we are going to see Benedictine Jenkins in the final week of the regular season for the region championship, because neither of those teams are going to lose a region game. There's no, and they might be close. Windsor
Yeah.
Forest will make a push. Southeast Bullock will make a push at someone's. Islands might make a
Islands.
push.
Yeah.
Those teams are going undefeated in the region until the final week. I would guarantee it.
Guarantee.
Guarantee.
You think so?
Yeah.
See, I may go a little bit off the beaten path there, because I do think the power has shifted and sort of spread out amongst the teams, where it's not Benedictine and everyone else this year.
That is true.
I think Jenkins has closed the gap significantly, if not overtaken them. And
I think Jenkins might win that game and win the region.
they could, and I think Benedictine is never to be doubted, because one coach said this to me the other day: the fact that they believe they are going to win every game they play,
Yeah.
that's good for 2 or 3 wins a year. like that alone, just the confidence, because it's such at the high school level when you're in crunch time, it's such a mental game sometimes. It's just getting mentally into that game and into that final play, and when it comes down to it, the athletes may may win that game. And Benedictine has guys that have been in that program for a while. Luke Barlow, the offensive lineman's fantastic. Gavin Stewart is and Trent Broadnax, maybe some of the two best pass catchers in the region. And there are guys that were kind of under the shadow of a Rico Powers and a Jakeem Harris last year that are going to step up, I think. So Benedictine is still good. They are never to be doubted.
How many games are they going to be in where they need to rely on a touchdown this year?
Rely on a touchdown?
How many games are they going to win by less than 2 touchdowns this year?
Oh, I don't know. I would have to talk to some more teams.
I mean, Blessed Trinity is coming down in week 2 or week
Trinity,
3, and
Burke
they're astounding.
Their first 2 games are going to be
really hard. I'm talking about region games.
Jenkins. I think Islands might.
I believe in Islands' talent. So let's talk a little bit about Islands, because we talked about Benedictine, we talked about Jenkins. Islands has had all the talent in the world the last couple of years. I think this is only the 5th year, maybe the 6th year they've ever had a high school football team. So they're a newer school in the area here in Savannah. They're off on Whitmarsh Island. And they have had talent. They had Kalen DeLoach last year. Kalen DeLoach was the best player on the east side of Georgia. He had offers from Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, everyone chose Florida State. Islands always has the talent. And yet, how many games did they win last year? 4 games?
3.
3 games last year. So the story with Islands, and again, I love Rob Zoller, their coach, great dude. Yeah. I like the kids at Islands. They're all good interviews. They're fun to talk to. They believe in themselves. They're good coverage. I enjoy covering Islands. I have not yet seen an entire season of Islands really coming together as a team. I haven't seen it. Last year, they had so much talent. And again, there were a lot of big plays, a lot of big players. I have not seen the Islands team yet. This is not to say they won't. This could be a big year for them. I have not yet seen Islands play as a cohesive unit, as a team. I just haven't seen it yet. Not to say they won't. It just hasn't happened yet.
And I wonder, yes, they've had talent in years past, no doubt. I don't know if there has been, I think there's been a different feeling about Islands this year in terms of the talent they have.
Well, now they've got a quarterback.
They have. So that's one. There's the fact that they got Jaden Hardy from Benedictine, who is a Mack truck.
Yeah.
That dude is going to create havoc on the defensive line. Havoc on the defensive line, and they may even put him on offensive line for some snaps, which is a problem that Calvin Wilson has said in the past that
there's a chance they play him at tight end. They should play him at tight end.
I don't know if he's a tight end guy. I don't know about that. I think offensive line and defensive line are his strong suits. They don't need any more pass catchers.
That's
I can
true.
tell you that.
They don't need more pass catchers. That's true. They have everyone.
Calvin Wilson always tells us that Islands just needs a bigger offensive line, and they can create some running lanes. If you put Jaden Hardy on that offensive line, that's size. So there's him. There is the wide receiver from Bluffton, Shamar Sandgren.
Who was their best, I think their best player the last 2 years at Bluffton. So all of a sudden, Islands landed the best player on Bluffton for the last 2 years.
Right. And then, I feel at this point I'll probably forget some people, but they have.
Quarterback's good, young
quarterback. Yeah. So Davin Widener, I was able to talk to him about a week ago. He's confident for a sophomore. He knows that in the coming years, it's going to be him and Holden Garner for top quarterbacks in this region of Georgia, this area of Georgia, and he's excited for that opportunity. He's young, and Coach Zeller admits that. He's a young guy, but he is learning quick, and he's going to be good. He's got so much talent around him that I do wonder. They're going to a spread offense now. Gus Bachman was a great quarterback for them. He was a nice game manager. He's at Valdosta State now. And Zoller couldn't speak more highly of him. But this is a completely different quarterback. This is a guy who's going to spread the ball around to everyone, where Zoller told me today he doesn't think there will be a problem with guys asking for touches. There's a lot of talent on this team, and I asked him, how do you manage having all those players who want the ball? And he said, to his guys this year, he said they don't care.
Or do you want to win? Do you want your touches or do you want to win?
And he said that his guys want to win. So if that's the case coming into the year, I think there's enough talent on that offense to stay in any game that they want to. That defense is getting more experienced. Zoller, he talked about it. Jason Cameron talked about it. A lot of these guys on their team are 3-4 year starters now. These were guys that were trusted at a young age to come in, and I think that can only mean a good thing for Islands. I think that's going to keep them in more games that they should have won last year. So I think that Islands Calvary Day game gets really interesting now. I think
Islands might win that game actually for the first time in a couple of years. The thing that always happened when we would put Islands Calvary on TV, which I think we did 2 of the last 3 years, as our Friday Night Blitz game of the week, especially because the last couple of years, that was just an unbelievable recruiting game. Like, it was basically a future who's who of the ACC. Calvary's lost so many kids. I think this actually might be the first year we see Islands beat Calvary.
I'm just so excited for these games, man. They're going to be so competitive. There are going to be so many names that we've just so come used to because they've been playing for 3 or 4 years now. So I think those 3 teams right there are all in a race for first.
You know, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for Jenkins Islands, and I'm so mad that it's on a Thursday. Why is that a Thursday night game?
I'm going to love covering it on Thursday, though.
I'm sad we can't put it on the live. I wanted to, that's a game that I was just hoping we could put on the Friday Night Blitz on CW, and it's just not going to happen.
You know, talk about 2 coaches that bring it on the emotion side. Who
great.
Oh my gosh, they
great
really
Thursday
get
game.
buy into it. Great Thursday game.
So let's ask us. So what is the game among the public schools here that you're most looking forward to?
It might be that one. It might be Islands Jenkins.
More than Jenkins
Benedict's another one.
That'll be for the region championship.
So my thing is, I will say that game as well. I think it's a tie between those 2 games. You know, if for some reason something happened between them where the game isn't for a region championship, I think this Islands Jenkins, which is earlier in the year, right?
It's mid-October.
Mid-October, so that's how many weeks into the season?
I think it's like week 6 or week 7.
It's week 6 or week 7 where both teams, I would predict, are still
undefeated.
Very much.
Well, Islands lost to Metter in week 1 of last year. It takes them a while to get going.
Yeah, I'm hoping that both teams are firing on all cylinders and in a position for that region crown, because I think that's going to be a great game that's just going to be intense. And you know, I have those games circled on the end of my calendar as well. I just worry about things happening between then, so I don't want to say it and then look like a fool. But I guess that's the prediction game. So I'll go with you, though. I'll say Benedict and Jenkins for one. Islands Jenkins is one that I'm really looking forward to. Some sneaky good games like a Beach Jenkins would be kind of cool. I think both teams are pretty hard-nosed on defense.
I haven't been out to Beach. Is Beach supposed to be good this year?
Ulysses likes them, but you know, Ulysses likes his guys. You know, there's some holes to fill on defense for sure. I think he said they lost all 11 starters on defense.
Sounds about right.
So that's going to be
last year was a big senior class
problem.
For Beach.
Yeah. So that's a good game. I like any game Windsor Forest is in this year just because I want to see that Georgia Southern style offense that the new coach is bringing. But I don't think there's going to be any debate when we say that any game that Jenkins is in against Benedictine or Islands is going to be a great game. Islands Benedictine will be kind of cool because that's the 2 quarterbacks. I'm really looking forward to that game because
is that a Thursday nighter too? Did I see that was a Thursday nighter?
I haven't looked at that one yet. But I know
they're playing so many Thursday night games that are good. Like, and this is no offense to other teams. Like, can't we put 2 of the non-great teams together on Thursday night Memorial? Like, why is Benedictine Islands on a Thursday?
It's above my pay grade to know that schedule.
What are we doing that? I don't know. It seems like a waste.
All I know is that those games will be on Friday for years to come. I think if these 2 quarterbacks stay the way they are and are with these teams come junior and senior year, Widener, Garner is going to be. That's going to be exciting for years. I'm really, interested to see how they play as sophomores under big bright lights.
And also, so I can get this on the record too, Tim, our director, would you take a one shot of Connor on that camera? Connor, would you do me a favor and pound the table and say you want games like Savannah Christian, Benedictine in the regular season next year?
I'm not going to pound the table because Greg will do it for me. We need those games in the regular season. 4,000 people for a scrimmage is unbelievable. You got the Stars at Benedictine, the Stars at Savannah Christian, 2 teams that are going to be good for years to come. So
regular season.
I don't know how long it takes to get something like that put in place.
1 year. It's only the league
then 1
games
year.
are scheduled
next year.
Next year.
Yeah, because they have three games or so available with the new region. Sort of mixing.
Anyways, it's now 3:26. That means it's almost time for Shy Words to be on CNN. So we have to go cover that. But next week is the first week of the high school football regular season. So next week. I haven't talked to you about this, so I'm pitching you this idea for the podcast next week on the air. I think we do region predictions for each of the regions, and I think we do over-unders and have some fun.
Region predictions, over-unders, keep it, what is it? Purposes only.
Entertainment purposes only.
Entertainment purposes only. Yeah, I love the region stuff. We have plenty of sound from the media day today that we can try and sprinkle in. Now that we're not, we're kind of like up against the deadline right now with the Shy Words stuff and just getting that media day. So we're gonna get you some more media day coverage, which won't date at all because these teams are still getting ready for the season. So yeah, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Check with us on WSAV.com. Greg Talbot, WSAV Connor D on Twitter. We will be updating you throughout the week. It is almost regular football season time, folks. See you next week.